I've thought about making this video for a couple days now because ever since maybe about 2 years ago, I haven't made any videos. And I don't think that anybody really cares that I haven't made any videos, but it would feel a little bit weird to maintain a YouTube channel and have big plans for that YouTube channel, and then suddenly that YouTube channel doesn't post anymore. So I guess for continuity's sake or for a conclusion, I want to make this video. The point of refined improvement in my book, for the maybe one person who read it, was to try to improve your life and to try to make self-improvement a big part of that improvement process, I guess we could call it. One thing that I never defined when I was in the journey of improving myself was the end goal. What was I working towards? What was I going to be happy once I accomplished? And that was a question that stuck with me a lot, especially earlier on, right? Because when you start making progress, it's great because you're making progress and it's fun. It's fun to watch yourself get stronger. It's fun to watch yourself get more present, more mindful. It's fun to work a job and make money. It's fun to acquire things, right? But as time goes on and you discuss this aspect of self-improvement and this one and this one and this one, you kind of wonder, well, what are you doing it for? Because sure, you might live a better life, but that's not a whole lot. Certainly not enough to justify how much time and effort self-improvement takes. So I'd say that at the start of my first year of college, I had to think a lot more critically about what is it that I really want to do with my life besides make it better, because there's only one constant thing in everyone's life, and that thing is change, right? So to try to make your life better and better and better and better is kind of an impossible goal to fulfill, right? Because at some point it's going to get worse. And if you don't have some type of big end destination or just a general concrete worldview, then, at least in my point of view, you're going to be left feeling pretty unsatisfied for most of your life. Just my point of view on that. Now, this led me to kind of consider, well, what are the different worldviews, right? I guess you might have like an atheist worldview, or you might have an agnostic worldview, a Christian worldview. Those are three pretty big ones. But the type of worldview that I ended up getting at the end of the day was a Buddhist worldview. On this channel, I'm sure that I've mentioned meditation and I've mentioned mindfulness practices. And when you really examine where those practices come from, I mean, albeit some of them do come from Hinduism, but they were popularized and more concretely created by the Buddha. So, I spent a lot of time learning, well, what is Buddhism? What is the Buddha? What is the Four Noble Truths, Eightfold Path, 5 Precepts, all that type of stuff. And it led me down a much more gratifying and much more easy to understand route than perhaps the self-improvement culture is. So if I'm going to make any more videos, they're probably going to be about Buddhism going forward. And I understand that that's not something that anyone who was associated with this YouTube channel or who watches it really cares about. But I mean, it's not like this was a for-profit endeavor to begin with. So I think that I'm probably just going to go with that. And because of that, that means that this is my last video on self-improvement. So I think that it's pretty fitting for me to discuss what I learned about self-improvement over all of my time in the very strange and now very mainstream community. right? Because when I got into self-improvement about 4 years ago, at this point, 3, 4, 5, it was a while ago because I'm a freshman going to be a sophomore in college, and I got into it when I was a sophomore in high school. So probably 4 years ago. When I first got into it, it was this underground niche thing that only a few people knew about, and those people were like chronically online, right? So mewing, mogging, any of that type of stuff. That was, I kind of was early to the party. And at first, when you see these things and you learn about these things, you think, oh, that's really great. You think that if I just am able to improve myself up to a certain point, then, everything in my life is just going to kind of fall into place, right? The truth is that it's just a lot more complicated than that. Self-improvement breaks life down into categories. Into, well, this person is an 8 out of 10. This person is, looks maxed. Something like that, right? Would be how I would have. And, the people that I talk to on the podcast on everything would have kind of broken things down into. And that's just not how life works, right? Now, that's not to say that perhaps your work ethic doesn't matter or perhaps your physique doesn't matter. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that if you condense life into these fixed categories of physique, face card, monetary status, environmental, like how your environment affects you, geography-wise, it's just more complicated. It's just more complicated than that. It's very rare for someone to achieve certain levels of success in certain areas of life and then say that's it and then be happy. That just isn't really how it works. If you don't have some type of bigger purpose, if you don't have some type of bigger goal, then it's, it seems relatively meaningless, a lot of it. A lot of the day-to-day actions that people do, right? So I guess that's probably the biggest conclusion that I came to with self-improvement is that it is helpful, but it is a tool, right? Kind of like the gym is a tool. The gym is a tool to build your physique, right? Your physique is a tool to build your life. It's an aspect of your life, and it's a tool that can aid you in certain situations, right? You might need to work a job where, perhaps being physically capable is a good thing. You might need to, maybe impress someone else. It's certainly easier to make friends if you can say, hey, you go to the gym, I do too, hey, let's go sometime, right? But these tools should not define you. They should be something that helps you, right? So that's not to say that I've given up on self-improvement. I still do 90% of the practices that I preached and talked about and at the time wrote in my book. But that is to say that I've realized that these tools do not define me, and they really shouldn't define anyone who uses them. They should be things that aid you. And those are my thoughts. This video is unedited, unscripted, off the dome, so it's not especially concise or especially argumentative in any way. I'm not trying to prove a really big point here. I'm just trying to share, these are my thoughts over the last couple years on this project that admittedly took a lot of time. Doing podcasts took maybe like 50 hours total. Probably 50 hours podcasting. Writing a book, 40 hours. A lot of hours into something that ultimately didn't pay off in the way that I thought it would. But at the end of the day, final thoughts about this project, this channel, is that probably just going to either change this YouTube channel to be about Buddhism, or I'm going to make another YouTube channel and make it about Buddhism. But either way, I am deeply grateful for all the people that worked with me on this, all the people that helped me out. And I'm deeply grateful for anyone who watched me or is watching me right now. All right. See you guys either on this channel or another one. And if I do make another one, and you want to know what it is, I guess you could comment it, but very different content from the type that I would be doing here. All right, bye-bye, guys.